This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, and you're listening to Python's Paradise, your film and music show. And this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, in 2016, I did a host of interviews. I did actually 48, but out of those 48, only 2 films really got promoted. I did a couple of interviews from Richard Linklater's great movie, underrated great movie, Everybody Wants Some, and a film that didn't make it quite past the festival stage, but a great horror film nonetheless, The Id with Amanda Wiz. But you know what? We got us some Sausage Party today, and according to release date, probably the most recent film I've promoted on here, and I love Sausage Party, and I have one of the voice actors and animators here on the show, Canada's own Scott Diggs Underwood. How you do, Scott?
I'm good. It's great to be here. Thank you.
And you're Canadian. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah, always have been.
There we go. Well, you know what? I saw Everybody Wants Some 9 times last year, and you know what? I saw Sausage Party 9 times as well.
Oh, nice.
Now, people would prefer that I not bring that up on a date.
Right.
And these dating sites, they prefer I just keep that off there, that I saw Sausage Party that many times.
Right. I suppose that's fair enough.
Yeah, but I thought Sausage Party, I heard of that movie 2 years ago or so when Seth Rogen was on the Howard Stern show. He was talking about it, and I thought, gee, this is going to be interesting, an R-rated Pixar-style film. And, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg has been known to collaborate on some interesting projects, and Sausage Party, ranks right up there. I just wondered how it was that you became involved.
I became involved actually early on in the process as a storyboard artist on the film, just through word of mouth. A friend of mine, Todd DeMong, who was the other head story guy on Sausage Party, just kind of rounded me up, and it so happened that I was, ready for work at that point. And so I joined the crew at Nitrogen Studios in Vancouver here, and just under the pretense that I'd just be storyboarding, which I did do for nearly 3 years on that film. So it was kind of a luck in the draw thing. So it was quite a lucky luck of the draw, I guess you'd say.
Well, there was a lot of great animations come out last year, and I was kind of sad that Sausage Party is not up for Best Animation for the Academy Awards, and I almost wonder whether that was deliberate.
Yeah, it was. There was a big push for it to be nominated for several awards, and yeah, it got shunned for most of them, as I understand. But yeah, that would have been quite interesting had it been in the Oscar contending.
Well, I had some high hopes because I remember a few years ago, Bad Grandpa was up for Best Makeup, and I was surprised that was up for an Oscar nomination. And so I thought maybe Sausage Party might be able to get in there.
Yeah, I had a kind of a low expectation that it might squeeze in there. I was hoping, but yeah, no dice.
Well, you know what? It's in good company because Finding Dory didn't make it in, and neither did Sing, and those were both great as well. Yeah.
I haven't seen either of those yet, but they're on the list for sure.
Well, Zootopia made the list, and I suppose between Zootopia and Sing, I guess they had to pick one of them, but either one is a winner, and Finding Dory was surprisingly just as good as Finding Nemo, which usually doesn't happen. But
right.
But Sausage Party, I was watching it the other night, and even the like when the hot dogs are in the packages and the glisten of the outside package, like all that detail, like it's kind of hard to believe that it did not get nominated because despite the vulgarity that may have prevented it, it's beautifully animated.
Yeah, I agree. They really, at Nitrogen, they really pushed the envelope of what they could achieve with kind of a lower budget animation. I mean, it's nowhere near the budget of even a Pixar short probably, but yeah, they really gave it their all to make it, look super nice. And I think it comes across. It's part of, it's kind of a necessity in that it's part of the joke that it looks that way. It kind of has to. If it was a bit more clumsily animated, which the budget you'd probably think would be, it doesn't serve the gag that it's this Pixar-esque scenario playing out, only in a vulgar manner.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Before we get into Sausage Party, I just wondered if you could give us a little of your background and how you got into animation.
Sure. I started going on 20 years ago. Coming out of school, I was lucky enough to get a job at AKA Cartoon, which was then producing Ed, and Eddy, a series for Cartoon Network. There is where I kind of learned my trade. I was on that show for about 10 years, where I was kind of put through the ringer, learning all about story and animation and yada, yada, yada. One thing to point out is, like you mentioned earlier, that I'm an animator. Well, that's technically not true. I'm a storyboard artist, so that's kind of where I approach it. I approach it kind of in the beginning phase, right after the script, and at that point, I'm kind of fleshing out the story visually, kind of like a comic strip form of it. Okay. But at any rate, yeah. So I was at AK for 10 years, and after that, I kind of floated around, all still in Vancouver. I've never had to go elsewhere to work yet, but I floated around town just doing some TV shows here and there, and then I was lucky enough to land the Sausage Party, several years later after that, still doing storyboard art, and so yeah, it's all been kind of a local scene for me thus far, anyway.
What's interesting you say that, because I've never been outside New Brunswick. So I've had some of my interviewees in California say, you got to come out here. You got to come out here. And I just never travel.
Yeah, I've had a couple meetings in LA, I've been there. But as far as working, yeah, I've never gone too far from Vancouver. Everything's just there. It's a bustling hub of animation, and I've been lucky enough to always find a good gig. Well, some of them not so good, but anyway, yeah, it's been good. So who knows what the future holds? But yeah.
Have you ever been up my way?
No, never.
We got a lot of snow down on the ground right now.
Yeah.
No, nobody's
checking it out, but I guess like you, I don't do a lot of traveling.
No, well, you know what? For me, I hate this about myself. I hate leaving home. I get homesick, and I wish I didn't, because I hear traveling's fun, but I just never go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, yesterday, or not yesterday, I'm getting way ahead of myself, but last Friday I interviewed Ralph Bakshi, and yeah, and I had a great interview with him, and he was fantastic, and we celebrated the 45th anniversary of a film that kind of paved the way for South Park and Sausage Party and the like, and that is Fritz the Cat. And
sure.
yeah, I love Fritz the Cat. And you mentioned to me in your email that you were a big Bakshi fan. What's your favorite Ralph Bakshi film?
Probably film-wise, I would go with Fritz the Cat. I've followed kind of his stuff. I like the New Adventures of Mighty Mouse. That's kind of a tamer version of Bakshi for sure. Coonskin I quite enjoy. But yeah, I like his attitude. I like watching interviews of him and interviews and such. I really like his attitudes towards animation and what it can do and what it can't do. He's always kind of pushing the envelope, and you're right, that helped pave the way for these R-rated animations for sure.
Yeah, I love Fritz the Cat, and it was just an honor to talk to him and have him on here. And it took a little bit of getting to get him on here, but I'm going to tell you, he paid me one of the biggest compliments. He said he's been interviewed by a lot of people, but he said I was one of the best interviews he ever had. And to hear that from him, it was an honor.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah, Fritz the Cat came out the year I was born. So I'll be celebrating 45 years in July. So,
right.
Yep. So Fritz and I, well, the film version of Fritz is kind of the same age as me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a classic for sure.
Oh yeah. But Sausage Party, I'm gonna say, you voiced. According to the credits, you voiced Twink, Gum, Mr. Pizza, and Crinkled Chips. Now, which of the four did you enjoy voicing the most?
I think it might be Twink. He didn't have a lot of lines per se, but I think it would probably be Twink, followed by Gum. And then the other two guys, they're just kind of a fun, small segment, so I didn't really put too much into that in terms of time or whatever. But yeah, I would say Twink.
You know what? Twink is probably my favorite character. Just the sight of him with that white Elvis-looking hair, which is basically frosting, but
yeah.
He's got this such passive attitude, and I love this line that Clearwater says, Twink's kick-ass lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of raises his eyebrows, Twink.
It's probably my favorite character is Twink. I like the name too, Twink.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little Twink on here right now?
Oh, well, I don't know if I should.
Get Twink to tell us what the weather's like in Vancouver.
Well, it's kind of an anomaly right now because it's actually pretty sunny. It's been raining most of the time. But it's fucking nice.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think Twink was the best. And did you storyboard Twink?
A lot of it, yeah. The way that it worked, the sequences were storyboarded so many times, like that a lot of people had their hands in the storyboard. So to say, did I storyboard Twink? Well, yes, but it was in conjunction with the other storyboard artists. It was kind of everything was kind of a mishmash. To even find a sequence that is strictly my storyboards, that's difficult because of the long production time and how much we kind of dug into it and changed things and fixed things and tried to make it funnier. So I definitely had a part in storyboarding Twink, but
yeah, I think Twink was great. And it's funny, too, because I'm watching it the other night. I couldn't help but think about Zombieland because Woody Harrelson was looking for Twinkies.
Right.
What it would be like if Woody Harrelson had encountered Twink.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know I guess I don't know if there was any dancing around the legalities of Twink. I know that he's not called Twinkie, but I'm not sure. Like, you'd think there would have been some sort of kerfuffle. I don't know who owns Twinkies right now, but
Well,
nothing.
yeah. Well, maybe they were happy with it. Maybe Twink was just such a happy character they leave it alone.
Yeah, could be.
After all, if it wasn't for Twink, poor Frank would have been in that bag of wonderment.
That's right.
Look into the bag of wonderment. Now, Gum, again, another interesting character. I'm trying to think of the guy, the Hawkins guy. Stephen Hawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, a reference to him. And I loved it when he came into view. You know, you see behind the glass and the shape is shifting and this and that. And then he just comes around the corner on the motorized chair. And it was a perfect introduction. And I love the character. Now, when you were brought in, like, how did you get to voice these particular parts? Like, how did you have to?
It's kind of a fluke, actually. So, what happened was, the storyboards taking years to do. Before they bring in kind of the big names to provide the voices, because things are changing all the time, it's kind of fruitless to have the big name voice actors continually voice as lines are changing and whatnot. So throughout the production process, they do just a scratch track, and that's just like the people in the studio kind of providing the voices for an animatic, so we get a sense of the story. So, the secretary is Brenda, and I'm this guy, and, some guy in lighting is Frank. Like, it's just to get a sense of the story. And I was lucky enough that some of the voices I just used for that kind of became popular and good enough that, they kind of went through approval process in that regard. So it was not that I auditioned for it or did anything else like that. It was just like, as a means of producing the movie, there was like a temp voice, and it so happened that some of mine stayed the course, which was kind of lucky. Actually, initially, I was doing the temp voice for Sammy Bagel.
Okay.
And with no even hopes that I would be the final voice in any regard, because that just wasn't the point. But I pretty much used the same voice as Twink for Sammy Bagel, and eventually, of course, his lines were recorded by Edward Norton, who did a much better job. But
did kind of a Woody Allen-ish kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just kind of recycled that voice that I was doing, again, just for production purposes, for Twink in the scratch track, and then that just became Twink. And the same goes for Gum and Chips and Pizza. I mean, throughout the production process, my voice was numerous other characters, and some of them, quite awful, where I had to play a female or something. It just sounds terrible. Glad that didn't go any further.
We need to hear some Gum. So what is Gum going to run against Trump after 4 years?
Well, let's see. Gum is tricky because what I have to do for Gum is my jaw comes out a little bit. It dislocates ever so slightly. So it's a bit painful.
Oh, we won't get you to do that then.
No, I'll do it. It's worth it.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. What should he be saying?
He should be.
If he were running, he'd be like,
"Vote for me. Calcium carbonate, soy lettuce, and vegetable-derived glycerin and talc. Or for expediency's sake, vote for Gum."
That was fantastic.
There's a lot of jaw clicking. So they did add like a tiny little filter on him at the end of the day, just to differentiate him into the kind of like computer voice, and I think it worked quite well. But he's a lot of fun to do, Gum, and especially in that he has no, facial features to work with. He can't emote physically, so it's all just in his kind of robotic voice.
I like the scene where the guy, the worker and the what's the name of the place where they're working? The supermarket worker and supermarket employee shoots
Shotwells, yeah.
Shoots him and hits him. His wheelchair spins around, and then it makes that Terminator noise where he
That part I did storyboard. I remember distinctly storyboarding the Terminator 2 bit.
Oh, that was fantastic. I forget how it is he worded, but you made a complete error in judgment or something like that.
Yeah, what did he say? I can't even remember now.
Yeah, you'd think I'd remember seeing it as many times as I did, but Gum always got a huge laugh, especially the first time he appears. And even when at the end, when you have the big orgy scene, you get the female strips of Gum rubbing against him. He says, "Say my name."
Yeah. Yeah, Gum, I think he could go places. I could see Gum, having his own spin-off or something.
You think
save a lot of money on animation for that guy. You don't have to animate any face or anything.
You think he'll run against Trump?
Well, probably.
And then, of course, Mr. Pizza, his first scene. He's got no legs.
Yeah. He's an interesting character because as we were storyboarding it, we have so much time to think and overthink things, and so when we came across Pizza, we kind of our inner critics or trying to make logic of this world was that how does Pizza even work in that he's created from, I guess, the dead corpses of other sentient beings, and yet he himself is a sentient being. So we kind of overanalyzed it and tried to make sense of it, and at the end of the day, we just had to come up with, well, because it's funny, so that's what he will be.
Give us some Mr. Pizza.
Hey, what are you talking about over there? Huh? I'm made of the dead corpses of other creatures. It's freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, and the druggie flips out. I eat so many of your family members.
Yeah.
Poor Pizza didn't make out too well by the end of the movie either.
No, he is one of the casualties of war for sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, now, it says Krinkle's chips. Now, which chips did you voice? The one at the druggies or the one in the shopping cart?
The one at the druggies.
Oh, yeah. So you were you were three characters at that point.
Yep.
Wow. Okay,
that was fun.
You eventually got tore up when he ripped into you.
Yeah.
Give us a little chips for us.
Okay. What the fuck's going on around here? Trump's the fucking president?
Yeah, and I just love that shot where the toilet paper comes out. And then he goes, what did he do to you? You don't want to ever know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it turned out everything, not just food, had facial expressions, even the poor toilet paper.
Yeah, the toilet paper and the douche. And,
the douche, yeah.
I'm sure there was something else.
Nick Kroll voiced the douche, and he also did a voice and sing as well, doing very well in voice acting. What an interesting antagonist for the film, the douche.
Yeah.
Wanted to get up in there. I gotta say, that shopping cart collision scene, that take on Saving Private Ryan, beautifully done.
Yes, those all based on boards by Todd DeMong. Give him props for that. He nailed that. That's a really part of the iconic scene in the movie for sure.
Yeah, the peanut butter and jam and their casualty.
Yeah.
The banana with the face peeling off. These scenes always got a laugh, and it's like one of those films that when it was at first advertised, like, I wonder how people are going to react to this, and I kept going back to catch these reactions from people, because animations, and Ralph Bakshi talked about this too, when he was growing up, animation was Disney, but it's kind of fun to see animation get a little adult.
Yeah, and it's so ingrained in kind of our culture that there was parents that brought their kids to Sausage Party, just thinking, well, it looks like it's a kids movie. Here we go, and we're not too pleasantly surprised when it played. I mean, it happened, and it's kind of a weird thing.
Well, Bad Santa went through that when it was released in 2003. People were taking kids to see it because, it's a Christmas movie. And then you got Billy Bob Thornton pissing himself and being drunk out of his mind, and parents not happy.
Yeah, no, parents very unhappy. But the weird thing is, I mean, once it ends up on Netflix, well, it's no holds barred then, I assume.
Yeah. What were some of your favorite animations growing up besides Bakshi's work?
Well, I really gravitated towards the classics. It's kind of a cliche thing to say, being in my field, but I mean, that's what happened. I really liked Bugs Bunny and Woody Woodpecker, that kind of thing. There was being the age group I was, I did get an affinity for He-Man at one point as well, but definitely I would run home after school to catch all the Bugs Bunny and Friends for sure, that kind of thing. I really like that stuff. Flintstones too. I liked. I kind of veered away. I mean, apart from He-Man, I veered away from stuff with humans in it. I kind of had a little distaste for it for whatever reason. Again, He-Man being the anomaly, but like G.I. Joe and stuff I never got into.
I've still got a bunch of Masters of the Universe action figures home. I loved He-Man and She-Ra growing up,
Mm-hmm.
I heard they're supposed to be making a movie for it, but I hope they do it right.
Yeah, it's a tricky one for sure. I actually just yesterday I saw that the old He-Man was on Netflix, and I was like, I'm feeling daring. I gave the first episode a go, and I mean, it certainly is dated, but I guess it's the nostalgia of it. I just kind of enjoyed it. So
I actually thought the newer animated Masters of the Universe was even better.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had the opposite reaction, and maybe it is just nostalgia speaking on that regard. Like, it almost got too, for me anyway, it was like too serious. Like, it took itself too seriously now, and I was like, this isn't what it's supposed to be. I mean, yeah, Skeletor is a bad guy. He has no skin on his face and whatnot, but he's still kind of buffoon. And with the newer ones, I just wasn't for me. But I could see, how they're going in that direction. And now, like, He-Man is teaming up with Superman in the comics and whatnot. So he's still kind of a force in the industry.
Yeah, but when you were doing a Sausage Party, who was it that approved you in to do voices? Like, Was it Rogan or Goldberg or?
It was actually Rogan was a big part of me being in that movie. He really went to bat for me, due to like certain union rules and whatnot. Just kind of some schlub like I am, all of a sudden doing voices was kind of like frowned upon. Like, well, he hasn't gone through the proper procedural to do it. He's not in the union. He's not a permittee. He's just some guy that showed up. Like, there was kind of a pushback against me doing the voices, and Seth Rogen really went to bat for me. And it's kind of interesting. Like, it's never that I was in the same room as him going to bat for me. It's kind of, I only heard it through a middleman, but definitely Seth is a very integral part of me just getting to be in there, and it's really something I appreciate. He just liked what he heard, and he wanted it in there, and it's in there.
I like what I hear. I don't know if the movie had been half as good if you weren't in there.
Well, that's good to hear. But I mean, I'm certain they could put someone in there. They did toy with having a computer do Gum's voice, and at one point in the animatic process, it was just a computer program. I don't know if it was the same one Stephen Hawking uses or not, but it worked in that you got the point that that's Stephen Hawking or esque character, but and even though my take on Gum isn't overflowing with emotion, there is some I guess humanity to it that they liked, and it kind of gave them something. So it reverted from the computer version back to my version throughout the process. I don't know, even a couple times, but yeah.
Well, you would think I hope this leads to you doing other voice work on some major films. Is that going to head there, or do you know?
I'm definitely pursuing that for sure. That does really appeal to me, that kind of thing, and hopefully I get there. Kind of as I balance it with continuing my storyboarding role, and my cartooning is definitely ingrained in me as well. But yeah, it's definitely an avenue I'd like to pursue, and I know all the characters in Sausage Party. Like, I really enjoyed listening to Bill Hader's stuff for sure.
Oh, he was great.
He's just crazy talented with that stuff, and I was hoping I would get to meet him at the premiere, but I guess he didn't show up for whatever reason. But yeah, there's a lot to aspire to, and there's a lot of great guys out there that I can hope to even get a fraction of their talent would be ideal.
Well, there was a lot of Canadian talent on that film besides yourself. I mean, Seth Rogen and Michael Cera, both Canadian. Mm-hmm. Did you know these people before Sausage Party, or?
Well, I certainly knew of them, but no, I didn't. I'd never met them for sure. It's only through the process of making the movie that I got to meet Seth and Evan and a couple other guys. But yeah, pretty good times.
I think Seth and Evan make a great team. I actually, if everything goes well, tomorrow I should have an interview from Superbad.
Okay.
Yeah, with the guy, he's not kid anymore, who drew pictures of dicks.
Right.
Yeah, I actually got in touch with him for the 10-year anniversary of the film. And it's like, Seth and Evan are a terrific writing combination, with Superbad and This Is the End, The Interview, and Sausage Party, and I'm sure there's one or two that I'm forgetting here, but But
Yeah, the Green Hornet.
yeah, I didn't go see that.
No, I haven't seen that one either. I did watch The Interview not too long ago, and I quite enjoyed that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's all that controversy around it. Like, I thought that was kind of senseless.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because that Christmas, that was the one film I wanted to see, and it got canceled because of all that bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what was playing, but I wasn't exactly trotting off to the theaters with a smile on my face with whatever it was playing.
Well, it was memorable, whatever it was.
Yeah. But at any rate, it's funny. My younger brother, who does my YouTube videos for me, I cannot get him to watch Sausage Party.
Oh, really?
He won't watch it. And it's funny because I remember when Kung Pao Enter the Fist came out, everybody hated it until they actually watched it. And I got Kung Pao the moment I saw it. I got the joke. And I remember my younger brother was doing something with my computer, and I had Kung Pao on. He couldn't stop watching it.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you should learn to listen to me. I can find some funny stuff.
Actually, that's funny because Kung Pao, I loved Kung Pao. And I went and saw it in the theater, not expecting much, but I loved it. And I told my friend Joel, okay, you got to go see this movie. You got to go see Kung Pao. And he's like, no, that looks dumb or whatever. And I said, you go to this movie. If you do not like it, I will refund your ticket price. I'm that sure you're going to like it. And he went, and sure enough, he liked it. I really like Kung Pao. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, and people in the theater were groaning at it, and it's like I felt like I was the only one that got the joke.
That's a great movie. I put that up there. That's up there for me, Kung Pao, for sure.
I wish they'd hurry up and make a sequel to it. I heard Steve Odekirk was supposed to do a sequel.
That would be ideal, but yeah. I don't know what he's doing now, but he should be doing that.
He should be doing that. Or at least take a piece of garbage film like Pearl Harbor and redo that one.
Right. I'm sure there'd be some rights problems with that, but that would be funny.
Yeah. But, yeah. But, no, Sausage Party, though, had a lot of great talent behind it. You say you went to the premiere. Who from the film did you meet, and who made an impression on you?
Well, it was so fast and furious. It's not as though anyone I met I had any really time to chat with. But Seth there, and I got to chat with him a little bit. And then really everyone else, I was just lost in a sea of people, and I couldn't really chew the fat with anyone else. If I'm recalling correctly, which I think I am.
Yeah? Did you dress up like Twink to the premiere?
No, nothing like that. In fact, I didn't even have a suit on because I didn't know. And having never been to a premiere, I'm like, oh, I don't got to wear a suit. It's too freaking hot out there. But sure enough, everyone else was wearing a suit, and I looked like a bit of a schlub. But anyway, such as it is.
Well, you know what? I don't think the film, I mean this, I looked you up on purpose. I wanted to see who voiced Twink and Gum. And I thought I was going to find two separate people,
Right.
And because I'm not necessarily looking for A-list for my podcast. I just want interesting. And I thought Twink and Gum were plenty friggin' interesting to me.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Like, I mean, if they do a Sausage Party 2, they better have Twink and Gum in there.
Well, they didn't get killed, so there's a good chance. I mean, Pizza, he's dead, but Chips is dead too. So it'll just be those two.
Yeah. You think they're going to make a second one?
Well, I do know that there's talks about it, and I'm not privy to kind of the details in that arena, but I don't know. It did well enough that it's certainly on the table.
Well, there's a great opening, like in the end of the film, like the whole idea of cartoons dealing with the people that control them. I mean, that's even a whole different scenario than the food.
Whole nother ball of wax right there. That'd be a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
For
No.
sure. And they did show. They did show Gum go into the real world. So logically speaking, he should be in the next one. Twink didn't, of course, go through the portal.
You don't think Twink was hanging out there? I mean, after all, Clearwater was going through.
That's true. I mean, I could see maybe he's going to catch up.
Him and
something,
Mr. Grits. Mr. Grits got hold of those crackers. What do you think of that orgy scene? Was that...
That was probably one of the most fun times kind of the crew, the storyboard crew had with a sequence was the orgy scene, because we just had a fair amount of time. I don't remember, was it 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever, but we just, the kind of the instruction was, all right, go nuts. Go get as filthy as you want. And we came up with so many filthy things, and we're just laughing all day doing these things, and you know, at the end of the day, it was even more filthy than what ended up on the screen. But yeah, that was a blast, storyboarding that stuff. You know, not to mention the kind of reference you're looking up at work. It seems kind of odd, but yeah, you know, you got to reference it. So okay.
Tell me, Twink and Gum certainly were enjoying themselves.
For sure.
Another one too, another scene that always got a big laugh, and it ranked right up there to me with the naked puppets having sex in Team America World Police.
Yeah.
The orgy scene ranks right up there with that. But I gotta say too, even the sight of the talking condom. Oh my god.
Ah, yes. That's it. Yeah.
Who did the voice of the condom?
I honestly, I don't know.
Because it's not even listed on an Internet Movie Database.
Oh, really?
No, I can't find it. I was like, who voiced the condom?
I don't know.
Oh, it's just a pathetic sight, that poor condom. And it gets a reaction every friggin' time.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, seeing that in the theater, that was terrific. But you've done other animated work as well, like you mentioned Eddy, and Eddy. You know, Ed's got a couple of extra D's.
Yeah.
Now, that I noticed something with that. Now, there was one episode I haven't seen this, but I caught it doing some research on you before this interview. One where the boys get a date with Daphne Blake from Scooby-Doo.
Okay. That was a promo. So it wasn't an episode, but it was a promo where Ed goes on a date with Daphne, and I don't know, it was like 30 seconds or a minute long. But I actually did the storyboard for that, and yeah, it was kind of a neat process, kind of mixing those two worlds. Where in that, you know, in Ed and Eddy, you never saw an adult ever whatsoever. And now here's Ed going on a date with Daphne.
So whose idea was it to do this?
I think it was Cartoon Network's idea, because they would have like other characters from their other shows. I think, if I remember correctly, they, you know, some one of the Powerpuff Girls would, I don't know, go out with Johnny Quest or something. I don't know, but it was kind of a theme for some of their promos. So it just ended up that for the Ed and Eddy, Ed went on a date with Daphne.
You want me to tell you what it put me in mind of? A friend of mine had brought this up to me a few years ago, and I was both shocked and amused at the images of the rise and popularity of cartoon porn.
Right.
And I think we know Fritz the Cat and, you know, Sausage Party and South Park, and they've really pushed that envelope. But it seems to me one of the key moments I'm remembering is the movie American Pie, when one of the characters says, I was watching Little Mermaid the other night, and Ariel's so hot, and people in the theater just laugh because people kind of get it. I mean, you're looking at this female mermaid with seashells covering her breasts, and it's a great animated movie, but it's kind of a little creepy and weird that there's adults that fantasize over this, and of course Daphne is a very popular cartoon sexual fantasy, so to speak.
Yeah, even Velma is.
Oh yeah, I've seen some really weird Velma pictures.
Yeah, not so much Scrappy Doo, but yeah, definitely Velma and Daphne. Jessica Rabbit's up there, and.
But you was mentioning Masters of the Universe. Now, growing up, like I was a teenager in the '80s, so it's kind of weird to say this, but when you look at Teela from Masters of the Universe, or you look at She-Ra and all those women, and they had these big busts.
Yeah.
The cleavage was showing. It was really weirdly sexual.
Yeah. Yep. I remember wanting the Teela action figure. For sure.
You know what? I wanted to get the Teela action figure, and that's one I do not have. It was one that was not in town, and I mean, I suppose I can go on Amazon and buy it, but I've just been too lazy to do it.
I never did get Teela either.
They had a bunch of them in town. I always thought the Masters of the Universe were very creative. I like the villains. Like Merman was a favorite of mine because my favorite color is green, and Trapjaw was very creative looking, and Spike-Ore, and I always remember this comic strip where the evil Horde wanted to send a message to Skeletor. So of all the henchmen they kidnapped, they grabbed Stinkor. They regretted that.
Yeah.
But but it's weird being at that age a teenager, and I'm not trying to be perverse for any innocent listeners out there, but you see these females and the way they were in this cartoon. It was kind of almost an early introductory to your sexuality.
Right, kind of a puberty, a little boost for the puberty.
I remember too clearly there was an episode of Masters of the Universe where I don't know what the scenario was. I just remember one thing happened. There was this kid that they rescued, and I guess he got stuck in this jail cell with Teela, and he's so happy to see Teela. He runs and he wraps his arms right around her waist.
Right.
And you know what's going through your head, wrapping your arms around this hot chick's waist. So, not to sound too twisted and perverse, but I think you know where I'm going with here. Because I have a feeling that you've been there.
Well, I cannot confirm nor deny these allegations.
But no, and then of course you move on, of course, to horror films, and then you really see nudity. You see the actual thing. So.
Yeah, I did get a little bit into horror, not so much as my peers maybe, but for that kind of same reason, I really liked Benny Hill show.
I love Benny Hill.
The naked women.
Actually, the first, from what I remember, I used to watch Benny Hill a lot, but the first real naked woman I could remember, I mentioned this to some, I've interviewed some of the Friday the 13th actors on here. And the first naked woman I seen was in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Right.
Because my cousins and my older brother were watching it, and they were making sure the adults didn't see them watching it.
Right.
And there was like 2 or 3 kills that happened, and it was a scene where Kirsten Baker's walking naked into the lake that my mom comes in and turns the television off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, the killing's fine, nudity's not. It's very diverse, but no, but
there was I remember knowing that Sausage Party was an R-rated movie. I remember drawing a sequence where there was some nudity. I thought, might as well go all out and get some nudity in here. with one of the female shoppers as during the war at the end, and it got cut. I guess rightly so, but yeah, there was something. Knowing that it was an R rating, I was like, well, let's give it a go.
What did you put?
It was simply. I guess it was a woman with augmented breasts, shall we say, and she was down, killed by the food, not in any gruesome manner. I don't remember, but at any rate, douche at this point was flying through the air for whatever reason, and he got stuck in between the breasts, and so there was like a bit of a scenario with that, but maybe time constraints had to lose that sequence.
Oh, they didn't put it in the deleted scenes or anything. Oh, they.
Well, no, it didn't ever make it past storyboard. So it was never animated or anything.
You'd think that would be right up Seth Rogen's alley.
Yeah, perhaps, but I mean, maybe it was just kind of like too much in that moment, or I don't know, or it's just too much going on, or like, because I mean, the stuff as you storyboard stuff, you kind of everything has to be cut down because storyboarders have so many ideas and they're just shoveling it all into the pipeline, and it's just impossible to do everything. So I mean, that's also part of the reason, like an animated movie takes so many years to get done. Like you're just kind of constantly throwing ideas at the wall and sees what sticks and why and what and who and whatever. But yeah, definitely there's a lot of stuff that changed throughout the course of that production. Even initially, like there's characters that just got axed for whatever reason. They were in the movie for quite some time. There was a can of tuna at one point that was one of the non-perishables.
Oh.
Along with Twink and Grit and Firewater, and he just proved to be not very popular with whomever, Seth or Evan or who knows, somebody at Annapurna, and he just got axed. His demise was imminent. All part of the process.
What do you think about these groups that protest these R-rated movies and try to force these, I guess would like to call it right-wing views on what people can and cannot watch?
Well, I mean, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, if someone wants to make it, someone wants to exercise their creativity to make such a film, like, are you going to stop them from doing that? That's kind of what they want to do. And I mean, I could see, the fact that it's rated R is so that little kids won't go to it, and fair enough. Well, why should a little kid be going to this? And for that, if there was a protest for stop bringing your little kids in there, I'd be right on with that. I'd probably join in. But yeah, to protest it on its merits when it's just full-grown folks going there, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But
you know what's funny? I remember, like some of these Disney films growing up. I think Bambi is a terrific Disney film, but let's face it, it's got the whole killing of Bambi's mother is a little much for young kids.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan. I'm probably the only person that hates Old Yeller. I think it's a shitty film. But look what it's famous for. Shooting a dog. And it's rated G.
Yeah.
I find that bizarre. It should be rated PG.
Right.
Yeah.
Parental guidance.
Yeah, I can recommend Bambi. Old Yeller, I'm sorry. I never saw what the big deal with that film was. But there's these groups out there that do that. They like to tell people, basically like to control what people watch, and I always had a problem with these kind of people.
Right.
Yeah. So what are you working on now?
Right now I'm working with Sony Animation. I'm working on a movie called the Emoji Movie, which has just started to be kind of advertised.
Okay.
It's definitely on the opposite end of the spectrum from Sausage Party. It's definitely a kid-friendly flick. So it's a different process. Well, creatively speaking. Work-wise, it's the same process.
Is it going to be a feature film?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a feature film.
When's that coming out?
I think August.
Okay.
Yeah.
You going to do any voices on it?
Doesn't look like that's in the cards for this. I've kind of put my feelers out there to see if I could weasel my way in there, but I think for this one I'll be strictly a storyboard artist unless my weaseling pays off in the near future.
Come on, they gotta hand it to you with Twink and Gum and Mr. Pizza and Crinkle Chips. Those were 4 very different voices. They've got to give you a little recognition. Look, I sought you out. If I can seek you out, they've got to get off their ass and notice the potential.
Well, I'll point that out.
Yeah, like I don't know like quite when this is going to podcast out, so please be very, very, very patient with me on that. But I mean, if it's podcast out before that thing is completed, jeepers, use it to your advantage because.
For sure.
Because I don't just seek out anybody, people have got to have done something that I found interesting, I mean, like I said, loved Twink, loved Gum. I was actually surprised they were both voiced by the same guy, and two very, very different voices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly I do know kind of my luck in scoring that. That gig, as it were. Like, pretty thankful that I got to do it. A lot of fun, just being a part of this absolutely crazy movie. In more ways than one. I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, I was storyboarding on this thing for nearly 3 years, and the amount of time I was in the voice booth doing those voices was probably, I don't know, less than an hour. Let's say,
yeah,
if maybe a little bit more or less, but it's kind of interesting how the recognition for the voice often overshadows the other part. It's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing or whatever, but it's an interesting thing at any rate.
Yeah, the Emoji Movie. How much are you how much are you allowed to share on that?
Probably nothing.
Oh,
I'd say.
You able to say what kind of emojis are going to be in it? Or are you able to do that?
I can tell you only what has been released, and I think there's been 1 or 2 teaser trailers or write-ups or whatever, and it's about the meh emoji, which is kind of like the nonplussed, half-lidded expression.
Okay.
And it's about that guy and kind of his journey inside of the phone. So it all takes place in a phone.
Okay.
And it's a journey of him trying to be careful with what I say because I'm not too familiar with what's been put out there, but it's a journey of him expressing himself,
Okay.
How we say. Yeah, I haven't been cleared for.
Okay, no, don't get yourself in trouble, but just kind of giving people a taste here for it, because I was gonna say, when that comes out, maybe we could get you back on here.
Yeah.
Have you on here to promote that, because I was really happy to have you come on here today to talk about Sausage Party. Like I said, it's only the 3rd film I think I've done an interview from 2016. So, and like I said, I go after what I find interesting. So when
that's great. I'm glad to have been on here.
Yeah. Now, before I let you go, I would love it if I could get you to do a plug for my show.
Sure.
I was going to say, are you able to do a plug as Twink?
Let's try it.
Sure. And the show's called, my name is Greg Gilbert. The show's called Python's Paradise. And, of course, it's in New Brunswick, Canada.
Greg Gilbert, Python's Paradise.
Python's Paradise in New Brunswick, Canada.
Okay. I want to make sure I get all that right.
There you go.
Okay. A plug for your show starring Twink, all right?
Now, make sure you listen to Greg Gilbert and Python's Paradise, right out of New Brunswick, fucking Canada.
Oh, you gotta love Twink. Oh, it's probably my favorite character in the movie. There wasn't enough Twink in there.
Well, maybe I'll have to put a little bleep sound in there or whatever. I don't know.
No, look, when it podcasts on the internet,
it's all fair game.
It's all fair game, I had an actor come on last year, and he asked if he could swear on. I said, you probably shouldn't. But he every time he'd say effing instead of the F word, and I'm sitting there thinking, it just sounded bad. And I got to thinking, I'm supposed to have him back on this year. And I told him, I said, you can swear, because you know what? When it goes on the internet, it's not going to matter.
Right.
Yeah,
It's all swears on the internet.
There you go. Yeah. No, and I also was curious, too, is there any way, I would love if I could get something signed. Is there any way people can get anything autographed by you?
It's a good question. I've never been asked it.
Trick question.
No, I don't know offhand. I might have to get back to you on that.
Well, I'll keep in touch with you there on Facebook. I was very, very glad I was able to find you on there. It was just a total coincidence because I did not recognize the duck cartoon you had on your profile picture.
Right.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really gone, nuts with like my Facebook or anything else. It is a bit vague. So thanks for doing the sleuthing.
Yeah, well, it was a pleasure. I was very, very happy to have you on here today, celebrating Sausage Party, even if the Academy Awards are not.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to celebrate it anyway. I thought Sausage Party was pretty creative. Yes, it was a little crass for those listening that were offended by it, but I do like creativity, and nobody can deny that Sausage Party was definitely that. Exactly. Well, you know what? I'm very honored that you're Canadian. I guess we can assume Twink and Mr. Pizza and Gum and Krinkle Chips are Canadian as well.
Yeah, I guess they're all Canucks.
They're now Canucks food.
Yeah.
So I am going to bid you a great day, and I thank you for the honor of having you on this show.
Well, thank you very much. It was fun.
And I will send this to you when it's done.
Great.
I'll keep in touch.
All right.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.